Welcome to the Freelancers Tea Break, the bite-sized podcast all about freelancing and working from home to enjoy during your tea break. Brought to you by Emma Cossey from freelancelifestyle.co.uk. And now, your host, Emma Cossey.
Welcome back to another episode of the Freelancers Tea Break, and this week we're going to be talking about terms and conditions, which doesn't really sound like a very sexy subject at all, does it? While it might not be the sexiest subject, it is incredibly important that you set terms and conditions with your clients. It's a way of setting your boundaries and your expectations and making sure that you and your clients start on the same page before you even start working together. Setting your terms and conditions doesn't have to be a really intimidating act. Actually, I have a standard set that I use that I sometimes tweak for different clients, and before I start any work I just send them an email with my terms and conditions and ask them to reply and say that they're happy with them. It is far easier to set the standard early on than later on have issues like late payers or people calling you outside your working hours and things like that, and you haven't set terms and conditions, so you've got nothing to go back to and refer to. Which brings me to what you can include. Now, over on my website, freelancelifestyle.co.uk, I do have a really great template for your terms and conditions, which I will pop in the notes. But I wanted to share with you 3 things that you need to include in your terms and conditions. So the first thing is a notice period. Now, I found having a notice period means it's much easier for you to set the period of time that you or the client will give if you want to end the contract. So generally on mine it's 30 days, so that means I have some kind of security for 30 days in pretty much the same way that I would if I was in a job role. Now this varies depending on what you're doing. It's much easier to put this kind of notice period in if you're doing ongoing work, but if for example you're doing say a photography project or a consulting job, you could include something about cancellation fees or cancellation times and things like that in there. Number 2 is your payment terms. Now, this is a couple of different things actually. It's how long you expect to be paid by. So some people have a 7-day payment period. Some people have a 30-day payment period. Some companies have a 90-day payment period. So you need to make sure you're both on the same page so that you're not invoicing and expecting to be paid within the month when the company, especially bigger companies, have a much longer payment period. So I would say this is an incredibly important thing to agree on before you even move forward, is agreeing on how quickly they will pay you. Now there is one way around this where you can set them up with a direct debit, and that's quite a good way of doing it because you know then that's going to come out. If they haven't paid on time, I have 2 parts of my terms and conditions. I have a late payment fee which details what will happen if the invoice is unpaid after 30 days, and you can find all the blurb on that on the template, which I'll pop the link in for. But I also offer an early payment fee. So invoices that are paid within 7 days for me will benefit from a 4% discount on the total of their next invoice. So this is great for ongoing invoices, and this works really well with medium and big size companies as well. It's a little bit of a controversial one because not everybody likes the idea of an early payment discount, but the late payment fee is incredibly important and you have to make sure that's in there. And I would say the third thing is your availability. So explain what work hours you do, maybe what your turnaround time is, and if a task is required to be done over the weekend, you may want to add something in about overtime applying. There are lots of other things that you could include. So you could include things about expenses, down payments or part payments if you're taking a deposit, intellectual property ownership. So that's things like usage, resale, sometimes with things like photography and all sorts of things like that. Revisions, you may include a certain number of free revisions in your terms and conditions, travel costs and things like that. So there's lots of different things that you can include, and you can tweak it so that it works for you. So terms and conditions essentially future-proof your business contract with the client, and hopefully you won't need to use them too much. Hopefully everything will go brilliantly, but if you do need to, you've got that backup right there on email. So I hope that was helpful. I've popped them up on the website freelancelifestyle.co.uk/T&C, but I will pop that in the show notes as I mentioned. And do let me know if you have any other questions you want me to chat about in the podcast. And come over and join us in the Facebook group because it's really buzzing at the moment. There's loads of great questions. So just search for the Freelance Lifestylers. And I will see you in the next episode.